The Battle of Olympus for the NES was released in 1990, and you may not be as familiar with it as other side-scrolling classics, but don't dismiss this as a generic knockoff, because I think it is one of the finest games ever released by Nintendo, and it's still a fun and exciting experience today. So let me show you why I think this game is so good.
First of all, they couldn't have chosen a better setting for the game. It's located in the mythology of ancient Greece, and your character stands in for Perseus, Theseus, Heracles, Orpheus, and all the classic heroes as you battle famous monsters. You have to meet with the gods, you have to try to save your lost love from the depths of Hades. It's the basic rescue the princess plot, but this one actually has more depth. And you have to talk to nymphs and read letters from the heroine, and you see how the story unfolds. And on your adventures, you ride on a porpoise, you fly on a pegasus, you go through the labyrinths of Crete, and you even have to steal golden apples from the dragon Ladon. And for thousands of years, people have been fascinated with Greek mythology, and being able to reenact these stories in your living room is just irresistible. Let's talk about gameplay style. It starts in an ordinary way, simply walking around fighting low-level monsters, but soon you realize that this is a type of RPG, where you grow in power as you collect power-ups and new equipment. And there are some dramatic changes to your gameplay style after you get things like the winged sandals, which allow you to walk on the ceiling. And it literally turns the game upside down, and it allows you to avoid enemies on the ground, but then that advantage is immediately negated by new enemies who fight on the ceiling. And that's when you start to see how difficult this game can be. You'll find that mastering the art of fighting upside down is an absolute necessity to beat the game. And character control is very fluid. It allows you to feel like you're dueling with opponents, because you have to block with your shield and try to hit their weak points and avoid their shields. Here's an early example in the game. I need to close in on this Lamia and attack her before she can shoot me with her bow. And I need a running start, and then I have to time my jump to miss her arrow. And then I have to hit her and retreat, just to get a hit in. Otherwise she'll shoot you too many times and you're dead. And you're going to find yourself jumping around, turning directions, attacking, and just, it develops into a type of skill. And it's fast-paced gameplay, and it gets you excited. It makes you feel that skill is more important than luck or button mashing. Another major gameplay development is how you use your inventory. And if you use the right weapon at the right time, it's very important, especially when you begin to use ranged attacks that drain your life. And so you have to weigh the risk and adapt your style to suit different scenarios. So should I use my ranged attack when I know it's going to drain my life, or should I risk getting hit for more damage by closing in for a melee attack? And there are a wide variety of enemies. Most of them are familiar, like you have your bats and your slimes and your low-level enemies, but you also start to fight Amazon warriors and centaurs and flying horses and knights in armor. And the boss battles are simply amazing. I can remember exactly how terrified I was as a kid when Talos came to life and started throwing boulders at me. And you also battle an enormous Cyclops, a Siren, the Stygian witches who teleport around the screen, and the Minotaur of Crete, and Cerberus, the three-headed dog. And each of them requires special weapons and tactics to overcome. For example, in the Peloponnese forest, you come to this quiet lake, and the music starts to quietly thump in the background. The tension gets really high, and you see bubbles in the lake. And then you get attacked, and it's the Hydra, and you have to kill each of its heads quickly so it doesn't regenerate. If you wait a long time between attacks, you'll never be able to kill it. But you have to draw it out by getting close to it, and it lunges at you, and you have to hit it really quickly and position yourself in such a way that you won't get killed. And these are the kind of boss battles that gave me an anxiety disorder as a kid, because it's just so much tension. The difficulty level might be a little too hard for casual gameplay. It requires a lot of time to develop your skill and solve some puzzles. And there's no way you can do all that easily. It does get harder gradually, so there is a learning curve, but you need to be dedicated to the game in order to succeed. Some parts of the game are simply nerve-wracking. For example, there's this part where you have to jump across these platforms to reach the god Hephaestus. And the eagles are dropping rocks, and the jumping monkeys are very nerve-wracking. And it just takes one wrong move to fall off. The problem is, you have to get to the other side without dying, or you're going to lose half your currency. If you do this part of the game with no olives, it's pretty easy. But when you need to get over there and you have a full wallet, and you have to pay him, your mind starts playing tricks on you, and you choke, and then you die. It's really aggravating. And even though the game is hard, it only increases the satisfaction you feel when you finally complete it. Now let's talk about music. And without a doubt, Battle of Olympus has a soundtrack that goes down in NES history as some of the most memorable music they ever made. Each level has its own theme. The boss battles have this psychedelic drum beat, and even as great a composer as Bach is used for the temples. And it creates a really good classical atmosphere to the experience of this brilliant game. And there are a few inconveniences in the game that are frustrating, like long passwords and a tedious currency system. But those were common to NES games, so it's not that bad. In fact, the password system is actually better because it lets you go back to your favorite parts so you can play them again, unlike a save point cartridge game like Zelda that forces you to replay the entire game to fight a boss twice. And so far, I think this review has been mostly objective, but subjectively, I really do love this game. I had many happy memories playing it through trial and error, and I always considered it as a kid to be one of the best games on the NES. And to my surprise, when I finally had access to the internet, I discovered that many people hate this game. And usually they complained that it was too hard or it was outdated, neither of which are very good reasons to blame the game itself. But the most common criticism was that it was a clone of The Adventures of Link. And since I really like that game too, I can't say that's a bad thing. In fact, you could say that Battle of Olympus takes the gameplay style from Link, the inventory system from the original Zelda, some enemies and stage design from Castlevania, and dozens of other elements from other games. Then it combines them all together to create a magnum opus for the NES. This is the best of all those games united, and it's put in a beloved mythological setting, has plenty of new innovations, and it doesn't make Battle of Olympus a clone or a knockoff. It fine-tunes the whole concept of side-scrolling adventures and builds on the successes of the past. So yeah, it does look a little bit like those games, maybe it feels a little bit like them, but it's a completely different game.
So thanks for watching. I hope this convinced you to play the game, and so longtime fans, go dust this one off, give it another try. And those of you who do not own this game yet, you really should go and pick it up. It is an incredible amount of fun.